This is a poem for my son and the title poem of my first book, and it's called Hush. The way a tired Chippewa woman who's lost a child gathers up black feathers, black quills and leaves that she wraps and swaddles in a little bale, a shag cocoon she carries with her, and speaks to always as if it were the child, until she knows the soul has grown fat and clever, that the child can find its own way at last. Well, I go everywhere, picking the dust out of the dust, scraping the breezes up off the floor, and gather them into a doll of you to touch at the nape of the neck, to slip under my shirt like a rag, the way another man's wallet rides above his heart. As you cry out, as if calling to a father, you conjure in the paling light. The voice rises instead in me. Nothing stops it, the crying, not the clove of moon, not the woman raking my back with her words. Our letters close. Sometimes you ask about the world. Sometimes I answer back. Nights return you to me for a while, as sleep returns sleep, to a landscape ravaged and familiar, the dark watermark of your absence, a hush. This next poem is from a book called Prism. And Prism has poems that are titled in a way that indicate the colors each of the poems is about. And this next poem cheats because, as you'll hear, it's about two colors. Bumble Bee. It was such a 50s kind of thing, the astonishing sport coat at the back of the drop-dead expensive Roman men's store I'd pass by almost every day, just off the Corso. And sure enough, it was exactly my size. And it's almost impossible to describe the vibrating sense of pleasure, the soft lines of alternating butter and black gave to the haze left in the eye of the gazer, in this case meaning me, as I stood before the mirror, smoothing the lapels along my swelling chest, and the woman beside me, herself just a little breathless, turned and said, "Oh, honey, oh, honey." This is a poem that is called Saffron, and it's a poem about the Dalai Lama, and it's from something I saw on the beach in Santa Monica, California. Saffron. Even the thin tube of Spanish saffron sitting on the spice rack above the butcher block cooking table seems to glow with the worth of at least its weight in gold. And today at the beach, a dozen Buddhist monks in golden robes stepped out of 3 limousines to walk their holy one out along the dunes to the water's flayed edge, where the sand burned with a light one could only call, in its reddish mustard radiance, the essence of saffron. And what I remember most of the scene as the Holy One knelt down to touch those waves, was his sudden laughter and his joy and that billowing burnt lemon light opening across the sky. I'd like to read one poem from The Face. And The Face is a book in 45 parts. Their sections are numbered. And it charts the course of a man's shattering and his attempt to put back together the pieces of his own life. And this is section 12. It was late May when I began the journal, a record of descents, tours of the abyss, and catalogs of blackness. One morning, I woke having dreamt I was the vehicle of aliens, no joke. A stiff, robotic self, impeccably designed to go out into our world and hunt other people. My alien engineers had expected more success, I'm sure. The dream never made it clear exactly the fate of those I'd encountered, though I'm sure my friends might have something to say on the subject. At last, my daughter recognized me. I mean, the me within the me who was the robot transport. And just that touch of her hand in recognition made all of those internal extra-earthly mini-parasites evaporate like dust motes in the wind. Thanks, I said out loud as I woke to the blaze of sunlight in the bedroom. You're welcome, she said, just there at the bedside, her hand on my head, for God only knows how long. And this is a poem from the book The Red Leaves of Night. This is called Red Wheat Montana. There is a kind of weeping so inconsolable it occasions only silence, just as there is a kind of silence so horrible it requires weeping. Naked at the tall bedroom mirror, she had shorn in piles the magnificent red hair I had always loved, the blanket of curls I would pull over my body at night, a ragged field of red wheat clipped and bundled at harvest. And as I stood in the doorway, she turned and said, "Next week." They said next week the treatments will commence. And in that pause, I saw the sneer of a smile begin as she said, "But today, you and I will go and introduce ourselves at Madame Récamier's modern house of wigs." And this poem is a little love poem, and it's a sonnet, and it's called Rhapsody. In the dictionary of sapphires, only the rain confesses its regrets. Even the Venetian courtier, asleep at the end of the bed, forgets the naked jewels at his fingertips. Still, in our own prosaic silence, even a simple breath upon the ear is a kind of violence. Then, beyond the facets of sex, level as moonlight, some lost aspect of solitude touches your shoulders, still bare and glistening with sweat. The soft white of new ice and fragile as air. And so, I know I must take care.